All right, so a lot has happened between this afternoon and this evening, actually. It's dark now. A couple friends came over, gave me a hand, and we got to work. So we got very busy and tore apart essentially everything that I wanted to have torn apart on this thing. So I'm going to walk you through what I have over here on the table, some disassembly stuff, and then a little rundown of the bike in its current condition and the next steps of this build. Well, looks a little bit different than it did when we started, right? Yeah, got a little busy today. And this is basically, I think, the most I'm going to have it torn down. I wanted just to start with the pallet that I needed to start with, and so I can get the work done that I need to get done on it. So let me take you through the parts over here that we have taken off and laid out here over on the table. Just a couple of tips when you're taking some stuff apart. I always just like to put stuff back together the way it is. If the washers came out this way, put them back in. Just helps you assemble it again easier later on. Fork legs came out, fenders off. Again, washers and nuts and everything in the place that they need to be. Gas tank out, nuts, bolts, all that stuff. So it's a one whole unit. I took off a lot of this stuff as a whole, as whole as I could. You know, there's a right way and there's a wrong way, and the right way is to take it off complete as you can. The entire front brake system is here all the way up to the master cylinder. Brake line is still attached all the way to the caliper. Just took it all off as one unit. This is going to get replaced. The only thing I'm going to be using is the caliper and then the master cylinder itself, but I'm going to be getting a new brake line. These are going to be gone. I might keep the bars just on the shelves, just for some bars later on, maybe some riser, little riser bar combo, who knows. Mirrors, gauges, took these off. Definitely going to have to extend these wires, because I'm going to put these up on top of the bars. So these wires are definitely going to have to get extended for the gauges themselves. Headlight, of course, and then the entire hand controls, as well as the turn signal assembly, and you'll notice all the connectors are connected. Okay, people have a tendency to want to go and just cut. I'm going to show you where this stuff is inside the bike here in a second, but you'll notice everything is intact. Here's the hand control for the left side. Deutsch connector is still intact. I'm going to need to de-pin it, but we're going to need to just go ahead and fish all this stuff through the new bars. So that's the next adventure on this stuff. I may just do some busy work and start wiring up the bars and stuff. So, but all this stuff is intact. Now, there's very little. All this stuff right here is pretty much going to go back on the bike. There's the old exhaust. That is definitely not going back on the bike. I'm going to be looking for an exhaust. And then the front wheel, of course. I'm going to clean that up and get that thing shining all over again. There's very little that came off of the bike that is not going back on. Well, I take that back. This entire unit here is not going back on the bike, and that's really about it. Everything else over there is going back on the bike. So none of this stuff will be going back on the bike. I'm just going to shelve this stuff, highway pegs. I may use them. They're kind of nice just to have, you know, just to throw on the bike if you want to stretch your legs. But the bike has mid-controls, so I'll just shelve them, put them in the parts bin. Handlebars, and then the throttle cables, definitely not going back on. They're going to be too short. These are the bars I am going to be using, so I may just start doing this stuff here on the bench and fishing all those wires through those bars there. So that's the parts list. I mean, it just takes a little bit of time to maneuver it, unclip all the stuff, but this is it whole. This is all the parts basically from the front end, all attached with the connectors. So for me to go and extend and play with and do what I got to do with it. All right. Now, let me take you over here to the motorcycle itself. Obviously, since we dropped the tubes and everything, we're just down to the triple trees right now. I do feel a little bit of it's not as smooth as I'd like it to be. So I'm definitely just going to maybe check the bearings, drop it, and check the bearings in there. I might even replace them while I'm here just because it is a 20-plus-year-old bike. and you know, I'm this far, I might just replace bearings while I'm in there. So, but this is what I do want to show you. On these late model Dynas, a lot of people will have the tendency to cut these wires, you know, your bar wires and your headlight and all those wires that I just showed you on that table, because they are not aware that they are actually inside the frame here. And you'll see I have them zip tied here, but here's the connector for one control. If you come down, here's the connector for another control. Here's the connector for the turn signals. This is the connector, don't remember what it's for, but I'll find it. And then this is another connector for, don't remember, but I'll find it. They all only go in one place. There's no equal one, so it's really hard to mix them up. So this is the entire wiring harness. The trick to this is that there's a little trap door right down here behind the fender. Down below the fender and in between the tire. This little rubber piece, actually. This little rubber piece is the trap door that's inside of there. You take this rubber piece off, and a lot of this wire right here, all this loom, is essentially kind of shoved down into here. And that trap door, it's just coiled up in there. So you got to kind of get it out and just kind of, you know, straighten it out a little bit. And then you have to use two hands. You got to use a push-pull. Push this way, and then pull on this side. Push this way, pull on this side. All right, you just got to keep working it and working it and working it. You do got to be careful. You don't want to pull too hard because you are pulling and it has these connectors on it. So you don't want to pull this off of these pins here. You don't want to pull so hard on these wires that you start pulling the connection out here. I did a little bit with this one, I noticed. Just to give you an example. See this black one here on the end? Now it's kind of coming out. It's because I was pulling on a little too tough. So, just a little FYI, okay? But on these Dynas, you don't have to go and cut all this stuff. Now, looking at this, I honestly think, look at all this wire that's here. I think I'll be able to go ahead and just de-pin right here, and then just run all this wire through my bars to sneak out through the bottom, and then shove it all back inside. So I don't even think I'll have to extend the wires, you know, solder and all that stuff. Okay? So, just a little trick for you. If you're working on a late model Dyna, all the connectors are inside of the frame, but you got to open up the trap door here, and you got to fish them through the frame and out, and then you could just disconnect, and everything's intact. Okay? I am definitely going to go through this thing and clean up all this engine in here. I'm thinking I'm going to go take it and hit it with the degreaser, pull my pressure washer out, and clean it as best as I can inside of here and see what that does after it's degreased and cleaned, and see what that looks like for it. Definitely going to be polishing some stuff up and just cleaning from this point back. I'm not going to be taking, I'm not going to go ahead and remove the swing arm or any of that stuff. I'm just going to clean it all up in the back, and I may just remove the arm, or I'm sorry, the wheel to put the new rotor on, but I'm not going to go and check bearings and do all that stuff. So, exhaust has been completely removed, and let me tell you, this exhaust was an absolute pain in the butt. I put this nut over here, actually, because I just wanted to save it because of how proud I was of my buddy Mike, who was over here helping me. And this thing is stripped to shit. I mean, this thing was corroded. This bike has been sitting for a while, and the exhaust stud was just, I mean, this is what they look like. Look at this one, luckily, just came off completely from the head, which is fine. I'll just replace a stud. But this one, boy, it fought us the whole way. It looked like it was on a stud like this. It was just, it was bad. It was bad. It was brutal. But got the exhaust off, thank goodness. And I'm going to be looking for an exhaust to put inside of here. So now that this is off, you can see I'm going to have to take this off anyway, just to replace the clutch cable. So all this is going to get polished. I may just pop the top of the transmission cover off and polish that as well. And I'm going to probably take the cam cover off. It's a couple of bolts here. So I'm going to clean it up as best as I can. I've got the engine pretty exposed at the moment, so I'm going to take advantage of that and get it really cleaned up, you know, and really just dialed in as best as I can cosmetically. So as far as next steps, the next step I'm going to be doing, first things first, the suspension is very important, high on the list, because it is absolutely gone and shot. So I'm going to be looking at what setup I'm going to be going for that, taking that apart. And then while that's happening, I will just go ahead and start wiring up the handlebars as well, just to keep busy work, and that's got to get done. And I'll have to start ordering throttle lines and cables and take measurements and things of that sort. But first things first, figure that out, take those apart, and start getting to building. All right, that completes this segment of this Dyna budget build. I'll keep you posted on the next one. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure you hit the notification bell so that you can get updated, keep up to date with this thing, and just see some of the cool shit that I do here in the garage. All right? All right. Have a good one. See ya.